My name is Bianca Harper and I'm 34 years old. Up until that Tuesday morning, I believed I had built a life completely out of my family's reach. I was wrong. A man in a dark uniform knocked once and handed me an envelope at the door of my small rental apartment. No small talk, no expression. The paper was thick official. When I opened it and saw the words, "Family Court and Petition for Conservatorship," my blood ran cold. My own parents and my younger brother had filed to have me declared incompetent. They wanted full control over my money, my assets, my decisions. At the time, I didn't know they'd been planning this for months. Fast forward to the hearing. My brother looked me straight in the eye and announced in front of everyone, "You're an ungrateful brat, and I've already decided the yacht and the condo are going to be mine." My parents smirked beside him and added, "We're going to make sure you lose everything." But then their lawyer stood up. The judge's face changed in an instant, eyes widening. He shouted, "Security," and right then. If you've ever had family turn on you like this, or if this kind of betrayal sounds way too familiar, hit that like button. Now tell me your story in the comments I read. Everyone share this with someone who needs to hear they're not alone, and subscribe so you don't miss how this ends. You're definitely going to want to know what happened next. To understand why my own brother thought he could say that in open court, I have to take you back a few years. My family lived in a sprawling house in Coral Gables, Florida, the kind of place that screams success from the manicured lawn to the infinity pool out back. My father, John Harper, was a partner at one of the biggest law firms in Miami, handling high-stakes corporate cases that kept him in tailored suits and luxury watches. He thrived on the image networking at galas, shaking hands with the right people, making sure everyone knew the Harpers were at the top of the food chain. Control wasn't just his job, it was his way of life. He expected the same from us, like we were extensions of his portfolio. My mother, Helen Harper, played her part perfectly. She wasn't the type to work outside the home, but she ran our social calendar like a CEO. Charity luncheons, country club brunches, holiday parties where she'd corner guests to brag about the latest family win. "John just closed a multi-million-dollar merger," she'd say with that polished smile, or, "Our son is already up for promotion at his firm." She turned every gathering into a stage for our family's highlight reel, and she loved the applause. Then there was my brother Chase. He was 2 years younger than me, but from the day he could talk, he knew how to play the game. Smart, charismatic, always saying the right thing. Dad saw his mini-me in Chase right away, pushing him into finance classes in high school, then straight into the same university program Dad had mapped out. Chase soaked it up, aced his exams, interned at Dad's firm during summers, landed a junior analyst spot at a Wall Street feeder bank straight out of college. He drove the car Dad bought him, wore the watches Mom picked out, and echoed their opinions at every dinner. To them, he was the golden ticket, proof that their formula worked. They spoiled him rotten with praise trips, anything to keep him on track. Me, I was the glitch in the system. I never fit the mold. While Chase was out golfing with Dad's clients, I was holed up in my room sketching logos on my laptop or brainstorming ad campaigns for fun. I loved the creative side of things, the way a single image or tagline could shift how people saw a brand. But to my parents, that was just fiddling around. They wanted me in something solid like law or banking, where I could climb the ladder and make the family proud. Creative jobs are for hobbyists. Bianca. Dad would say, his voice flat like he was reading from a contract. Mom would nod along, adding, "We just want what's best for your future." The pressure built slowly at first. High school debates about college majors turned into arguments over internships. I picked graphic design electives, they signed me up for business simulations. By my senior year of college, it was a full-on campaign. Dad pulled strings for me to shadow at his firm, but I spent the days doodling mock-ups instead of taking notes on mergers. Mom hosted networking dinners with her friends' daughters who were already in corporate tracks, dropping hints like grenades. Chase, of course, lapped it up. He'd chime in with, "Sis, you could do so much better if you just focused." The breaking point came at a family barbecue that summer after my junior year. It was one of those perfect Florida afternoon sun-high grill, smoking with ribs, about 20 guests milling around the patio. Dad had just gotten back from a conference in New York, and everyone was toasting his latest big win. Chase, fresh off his first internship paycheck, was the star of the hour. To Chase, who's already outpacing expectations at the bank, Dad boomed, clinking glasses. The crowd cheered, Mom beaming like she'd personally engineered his success. People patted him on the back, asking about his impressive trajectory. Then Dad turned to me, glass still in hand, the conversation dying down just enough for his words to carry. "And Bianca here, she's studying marketing, but honestly, she's wasting her potential. Why chase freelance gigs when you could get a stable job like your brother? This creative nonsense won't pay the bills forever." He said it casually, like commenting on the weather, but the patio went quiet. Guests shifted awkwardly, glancing between us. Mom let out a tight laugh. "John's just looking out for you, dear." But her eyes said she agreed. Chase smirked from across the table, not saying a word, but his look said everything. "See, you're the problem." I stood there, plate of food forgotten in my hand, heat rising in my face. No one jumped in to defend me. No, she's talented in her own way, or give her time. Just that heavy silence, broken only by the sizzle of the grill. I excused myself early, drove home alone, and that night I packed a bag. The next morning, I told them I was moving out after graduation. Dad shrugged. "Your choice, but don't come crying when it doesn't work out." Mom sighed. "We just want you safe." Chase. He texted later. "Tough love, sis. You'll thank them someday." Graduation came and went without fanfare from them. I loaded my beat-up sedan with what I could fit and headed straight to a cheap rental on the outskirts of Miami. It was a one-bedroom in a faded complex, walls thin enough to hear the neighbor's TV, but it was mine. No more lectures, no more comparisons. I dove headfirst into freelancing, cold emailing brands for digital marketing gigs. My first client was a local surf shop, simple logo refresh that turned into a full social media overhaul. They paid on time and word spread. Soon I had a roster, boutique hotels needing ad strategies, tech startups wanting email campaigns, even a regional chain for influencer collabs. The work was grueling at first, nights hunched over my laptop, coffee-fueled revisions, chasing payments that sometimes dragged. But I loved it. Every project was a puzzle. How do you make a product pop in a crowded feed? How do you craft a story that sticks? I built a portfolio site, networked on LinkedIn, underpriced myself to get in the door. Slowly, the checks added up. I scrimped on everything: generic groceries, secondhand furniture, public transit instead of a car upgrade. Every spare dollar went into a high-yield savings account, then into index funds, when I learned enough from free online courses. That discipline paid off in ways I never advertised. My first big investment move was dumping a bonus check into diversified stocks. Nothing flashy, just steady blue chips with solid dividends. I tracked them obsessively, at first celebrating small gains with takeout pizza. Within 2 years, the returns let me put a down payment on a condo right on Miami Beach. It wasn't some penthouse fantasy. It was a modest 2-bedroom with ocean views from the balcony, bought outright after aggressive payments. $1,800,000 total, no mortgage hanging over me. I furnished it sparingly, a desk for work, a couch from Craigslist, but waking up to the sound of waves felt like victory. The yacht came next, a whim that turned serious. I'd always loved the water, sneaking out to watch boats from the public docks as a kid. One weekend, scrolling listings, I spotted a 50-foot classic from the 80s, tired but solid, listed cheap because the owner was relocating. I crunched the numbers. My rental income from a small Tampa fixer-upper I'd flipped with a low-interest loan covered the down payment. Weekends became my restore ritual. I'd trailer tools to a rented slip in the marina, sanding decks, rewiring lights, learning engine basics from YouTube, and a grizzled mechanic who traded tips for coffee. It took 18 months, but when I fired up the engines for the first solo spin cutting through Biscayne Bay at sunset, I knew I'd created something irreplaceable. No loans, no partners, just me and the horizon. The Tampa house was the quiet earner. A 2-bedroom bungalow in an up-and-coming neighborhood bought sight unseen at auction for under $200,000. I hired local contractors for basics, painted walls myself, and rented it to a young couple starting out. Steady checks rolled in covering marina fees and stock contributions. By year 5, my net worth topped $3 million, all self-made, all hidden. I didn't post about it on social media, didn't mention it in holiday cards. Why? Because I'd seen what happened when my family got wind of success. It became theirs to claim, to steer, to leverage. This was my fortress built dollar by dollar, choice by choice. Those years weren't all smooth. There were dry spells when clients ghosted, months where I ate ramen to stretch the budget. Loneliness crept in on quiet nights, scrolling family photos from afar, chase at Dad's firm holiday party, Mom in her gala gown. I'd wonder if I'd made the right call, if independence was worth the isolation. But then I'd open my laptop to a new contract, or step onto the yacht's deck for a quick sail, and the doubt faded. I'd proven something to myself they could never take away. I didn't need their approval to thrive. And then on that Tuesday morning, the life I had built over 10 years was suddenly under attack from the one envelope. I sat at the small kitchen table in my rental apartment, coffee cooling untouched beside me. My hands shook slightly as I slid the documents out. The petition was thick pages of legal jargon printed in crisp black ink. I forced myself to read every line, starting with the header that named my parents and Chase as petitioners. They were asking the court for full conservatorship over me, control of my finances, my medical decisions, even where I could live. The allegations hit like punches. The subject shows signs of isolation from family and friends. It claimed listing my limited contact as evidence of emotional instability. Then came the financial part. Unsupervised large assets that may exist, placing the subject at risk of mismanagement. And the closer, family concern over potential manipulation and poor judgment necessitating protective oversight. It painted me as vulnerable, reckless, someone who couldn't be trusted with her own life. At the bottom, their signatures stared back, my parents' elegant script side by side with Chase's bolder scrawl. My heart pounded hard enough that I could hear it in my ears. For a moment, the room spun. This wasn't just disapproval. It was an attempt to strip away everything I'd fought for. But the shock hardened fast into something sharper: resolve. I wasn't going to let them win without a fight. I grabbed my laptop and started searching for lawyers who handled conservatorship challenges, focusing on cases of alleged abuse or overreach. Within hours, I'd scheduled a consultation with Cynthia Vaughn. Her website highlighted her track record taking on predatory guardianships and family coercion cases. She had a reputation for being tough, no-nonsense, the kind who dismantled bad faith petitions piece by piece. I emailed a summary of the filing, and she replied almost immediately, "Come in tomorrow morning." Her office was in a sleek downtown Miami building, all glass and sharp lines, a far cry from the wood-paneled firms my father favored. The receptionist led me to a conference room overlooking the bay. Cynthia entered right on time, mid-50s, sharp suit hair pulled back efficiently. She shook my hand firmly and got straight to business. "Tell me everything," she said, pen poised over a legal pad. "Not just the petition, your history with them, any patterns of control money, requests, anything that feels off." I started with the basics, the conditional approval, growing up, the pressure to conform, my choice to go independent. I kept it factual. No tears, just the timeline of distance and rare, stiff interaction since I'd left. Cynthia listened without interrupting, jotting notes, her expression giving nothing away. When I finished, she leaned back. "This reads like a classic overreach. They frame it as concern, but the language is aggressive. Have they tried accessing your finances before, gifts with strings, loans?" I thought back. "Not directly, since I moved out. But a few months ago, Chase called out of the blue. It was casual at first, how's work, that kind of thing. Then he asked if I had a portfolio, said he could connect me with advisors from Dad's network for better returns. I told him I had it handled. He pushed a bit, sounded annoyed when I shut it down. Cynthia's eyes narrowed. That's a probe. Testing vulnerability. She tapped her pen. We'll need to dig into their side. Motive matters here, if this is about control or something else. She didn't waste time. By the end of the meeting, she'd already contacted a private investigator on retainer. Give me a few days for preliminaries, she said. In the meantime, gather your records, bank statements, tax returns, client contracts, anything showing responsibility. I left her office, wired, a mix of dread and determination churning inside. Back home, I pulled files from my locked drawer, years of freelance invoices, payment proofs, investment summaries without revealing totals yet. It was methodical work, printing, organizing, building a paper trail of competence. A week later, Cynthia called. Preliminary findings are in. Your family's finances aren't as solid as they project. She laid it out over the phone. Property records showed the Coral Gables house refinanced multiple times in recent years, heavy liens from contractors and second mortgages. Dad's firm had a pending malpractice claim from a former client, big damages sought, enough to jeopardize his partnership status if it went south. Chase's spending matched the lifestyle, luxury leases, high-limit cards trips that outpaced his salary. It smells like desperation, Cynthia said evenly. This petition timing isn't coincidence. They're positioning you as the unstable one to justify taking over. The pieces clicked with chilling clarity. All those years of silence, the occasional probing call, it wasn't disinterest. It was waiting for an opening. I hung up and stared at my organized folders. The fight was just starting, but for the first time I had someone in my corner who saw through their facade. 3 weeks before the hearing, Cynthia called me into her office with news that changed everything. I arrived early, the downtown traffic still light. She waved me in, closed the door, and skipped the small talk. They're not worried about you, she said, sliding a folder across the desk. They're desperate. She opened it to printouts of public records and investigator notes. The family home had been refinanced 4 times in 6 years, each loan larger to cover the last. Unpaid contractor bills had turned into liens and credit lines were maxed. Dad's firm faced a massive malpractice suit from a corporate client he'd advised poorly. The potential payout could wipe out his equity stake and force early retirement. Chase's name appeared on joint accounts with high turnover luxury purchases far beyond his analyst salary. This isn't concern, Cynthia continued. It's a grab for liquid assets. Your independence makes you the perfect target. They assume you'll fold under pressure. The words landed heavy, but they also fueled me. We mapped out the defense aggressively that day. First, professional credibility. Cynthia drafted a request for Mr. Mercer, the lead on my biggest ongoing contract, a national retail chain's rebranding. He responded within hours, providing a glowing letter on company letterhead, consistent high-value deliverables, 6-figure annual revenue from our partnership, impeccable deadlines, and communication. It painted a picture of reliability no one could dispute. Next, the isolation claim. Cynthia suggested reaching out to Skylar Graham, who'd collaborated with me on multiple campaigns over 4 years. We met for coffee near her office, and Skylar didn't hesitate. She recounted our recent weekend getaway to Key West just 2 months earlier, driving down together, renting scooters to explore the island, late-night talks over seafood. You're one of the most grounded people I know, she said, signing the affidavit without a second thought. Her statement detailed shared projects, group chats with other freelancers, holiday cards, exchanged proof of real connections. On my end, I built the timeline. 10 years of independence, month by month, first freelance checks, rent payments on time, student loans cleared early. I photographed key contracts. The condo closing papers, yacht title transfer, Tampa rental agreement, but redacted values and totals. The surprise needed to stay hidden for maximum impact. Cynthia layered in offense. She subpoenaed Dad's old emails from public filings related to the malpractice case, plus one he'd sent me 2 years back, casually asking about diversification options and offering firm resources. Combined with bank summaries showing their escalating debt, it formed a pattern of probing, followed by aggression. As the hearing approached, she prepped me for their performance. Expect tears from your mother, reasonable tone from your father. Chase will be the hothead he thinks he's entitled to a cut, so he'll overplay confidence. I nodded, absorbing it all. Days blurred into focused work client calls from my home setup revisions sent at midnight. Outwardly calm invoices paid, routines maintained. But nights were harder. Lying awake, old memories surfaced, the dismissal in Dad's voice. Mom's sighs of disappointment. Chase's smug certainty he'd always win. Doubt whispered, but I pushed it down. Skylar checked in, daily texts popping up during breaks. Coffee run tomorrow, or you're stronger than all of them combined. Her words anchored me, reminders that my world extended beyond blood ties. By the end of those 3 weeks, our file was thick testimony, locked documents, organized strategy sharp. Cynthia reviewed it one last time. We're ready. They won't know what hit them. On the morning of the hearing, I put on the simplest dark business outfit I owned, took a deep breath, and walked into the courtroom with Cynthia by my side. The room felt colder than I expected, even for a Miami courthouse in spring. Old wooden benches creaked under shifting weight. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, casting a harsh white glow that made everything look washed out. The air carried that stale mix of polish and old paper, thick with unspoken tension. I kept my eyes forward as we took our seats at the defense table, folders stacked neatly in front of us. Across the aisle at the plaintiff's table, they were already settled. My father sat ramrod straight suit, impeccable face set in that familiar, unreadable mask he wore for depositions. My mother dabbed at her eyes with a tissue, the gesture practiced and timed. Chase lounged slightly in his chair, lips curved in a confident smirk. He kept directing my way like he already knew the outcome. Their lawyer, Stanley Fox, flipped through notes with casual assurance, pen tapping lightly against the pad. The bailiff called the court to order, and Judge Gloria Dunn entered from the side door. She was older, sharp-featured, with glasses that caught the light as she scanned the room before taking her seat. Proceedings started promptly. Stanley Fox stood first, voice smooth and measured. Your Honor, this is a heartbreaking case of genuine family concern. My clients seek only to protect their daughter from choices that endanger her future. He called my mother to the stand. She walked slowly, heels clicking softly, swearing in with a trembling hand. Stanley guided her gently. Helen, describe your relationship with Bianca in recent years. My mother's voice wavered just enough. She's always been distant, cutting us off completely after college. We barely hear from her, and when we do, she shuts down any attempt to help. It breaks our hearts. Cynthia noted something without objecting, letting it build. Next, my father. He spoke calmly, authoritatively, the lawyer in him shining through. As someone familiar with asset management, I see clear risks in unsupervised finances at her level of experience. A conservatorship would provide structure, ensure stability for her own protection. Chase was last. He strode to the stand like he owned it, swearing in with a quick glance my way. Stanley fed him easy questions, and Chase leaned into them. My sister is wasting her life, he said loudly, voice carrying. Living like a failure in some rental, ignoring every opportunity we've offered. She needs the family to take control for her own good. I sat still, hands flat on the table, breathing steady as Cynthia had drilled into me. No reaction, no emotion. They wanted that to use against me. Cynthia rose for cross. She dismantled each claim methodically. With my mother, you say isolation, yet you've made no documented attempts to visit or reconcile in 8 years. My mother faltered. With my father, You speak of financial risk, but have you reviewed a single bank statement of hers? He admitted no. With Chase, you claim she's a failure while earning consistent six figures independently. She called our witnesses. Mr. Mercer testified remotely, screen showing his professional backdrop. He detailed years of contracts payments, always on time projects delivered above expectation, revenue in the high six figures annually from our work alone. Skylar took the stand in person, calm and direct. She described our collaboration history, shared trips, including that recent Key West drive with photos entered as evidence, regular texts, freelance group dinners. Bianca has a solid network, she said firmly. She's anything but isolated. The portrait shifted: responsible, professional, connected adult. Cynthia saved the hammer. Your Honor, she said evenly. The defense requests the bailiff read the independently appraised asset list into the record. Judge Dunn nodded. Proceed. The bailiff, a middle-aged man with a steady baritone, stepped forward with the bound document. He cleared his throat and began. Primary residence, Ocean View Condominium, Miami Beach, fully owned, appraised value $1,800,000. A pause rippled through their side. My mother's hand froze mid-dab. Maritime asset, 50-foot yacht, fully restored and maintained, appraised value $450,000. My father's posture stiffened, knuckles whitening on the table edge. Investment portfolio, diversified stocks and bonds, current value $1,200,000. Additional rental property in Tampa generating steady income, value $550,000. The bailiff continued to the total. Net assets exceeding $3 million, all acquired independently. The room went dead silent for a beat. My mother's mouth opened slightly, tissue forgotten. My father stared straight ahead, face draining of color, grip tightening until veins showed. Chase reacted slowest at first, cheeks flushing, red eyes narrowing as he processed. Then he shot up from his chair, finger jabbing toward me. You hid all this, he shouted. You're an ungrateful brat, and I've already decided the yacht and the condo are going to be mine. My parents exchanged a quick glance, lips curling in smug agreement. We're going to make sure you lose everything, my father added under his breath, loud enough for the mic to catch. Chase snapped. He lunged forward, knocking papers off the table, face twisted in rage as he tried to close the distance between us. Judge Dunn's gavel cracked sharply. Security. Doors burst open, two uniformed officers rushing in. They grabbed Chase mid-stride, wrestling him back as he struggled and yelled. The room erupted in murmurs and shuffling chairs while they dragged him out, his protests echoing down the hall. The hearing ended in chaos I never imagined, but the judge's ruling was crystal clear. Judge Gloria Dunn slammed her gavel repeatedly until the room quieted, her voice cutting through the lingering murmurs. She fixed a hard stare on the plaintiff's table. This petition is denied, she stated firmly. Dismissed with prejudice. She paused, letting it sink in. This court will not be used as a financial weapon. The evidence shows clear bad faith. The petitioner's motives are tied directly to their own financial distress, not genuine concern for the respondent's well-being. She outlined the contradictions: their claims of incompetence shattered by documented competence, their ignorance of my assets despite years of opportunity to know the timing aligning perfectly with their mounting debts and legal troubles. Filing a conservatorship under these circumstances abuses the process designed to protect the vulnerable, she continued. It's the petitioners who appear motivated by self-interest. The order came next: full reimbursement of my legal fees, plus substantial court sanctions for frivolous filing. And the hammer. I am referring this matter for formal investigation into potential bad faith conduct. My parents sat frozen, faces pale. Chase, back in his seat after security returned him, gripped the table edge, knuckles white. Stanley Fox gathered papers, slowly avoiding eye contact. We filed out quietly. Cynthia squeezed my arm once, no words needed. The hallway felt brighter, the air lighter. I drove straight to the condo, windows down, letting the salt breeze wash over me. That evening, I sat on the balcony for the first time in weeks, without tension knotting my shoulders. The waves rolled in steady rhythm below sunset, painting the sky orange. For the first time, the view felt truly mine, no shadows of disapproval, no fear of loss. I called, Skylar, voice steady as I recounted the ruling. She laughed in relief on the other end, and I found myself smiling, real light, victorious. Cynthia phoned later that night. "Everything's tilting our way," she said. "The investigation will proceed. They can't dodge the referrals now. Rest easy. You've earned it." The fallout started fast. A few days later, local Florida papers picked up the story, headlines like, "Family lawsuit gone wrong, conservatorship bid backfires in court," or "Miami heiress reveals hidden fortune, petition denied." They kept details vague for privacy, but the narrative stuck: overreaching family exposed. Chase felt it first. His firm, focused on reputation with high-net-worth clients, cut ties the following week. Official line: negative association impacting company image. Unofficially, no one wanted an analyst tied to public courtroom drama. Dad's turn came soon after. A formal letter from the Florida bar arrived, complaint filed based on the judge's referral, triggering emergency review. Temporary suspension of practice pending full inquiry. His partners distanced themselves quickly. Billable hours dried up overnight. No one from the family reached out. Not a call, not a text. The silence was absolute, heavier than any argument we'd ever had. I went about my days: client meetings from the home office, walks on the beach path, routine marina checks on the yacht. The weight lifted, gradually replaced by quiet certainty. I'd defended what was mine, and the system, flawed as it could be, had worked. 1 year later, the real consequences hit them in ways they couldn't recover from, while I chose a completely different path. The combined weight of mounting debts, court sanctions, and legal fees proved too much. They filed for Chapter 7 bankruptcy, the kind that liquidates assets to pay creditors. The Coral Gables house, the symbol of their status, went on the market and sold quickly to cover obligations. They moved into a modest 2-bedroom rental on the outskirts, the sort of place with shared laundry and no ocean view. Any attempts at contact, if there were any, I shut down immediately. Phone numbers blocked, emails filtered to trash, social accounts private. No explanations, no final words. The door closed for good. I turned my focus forward. The stability from years of freelancing gave me the foundation to go bigger. I registered my own agency in Miami, starting small with a downtown co-working space for meetings. I hired 3 people I trusted, former collaborators who'd proven reliable on tight deadlines. We pitched to international brands, leveraging my track record from past projects. Word spread steadily, consistent delivery, creative strategies that converted. Contracts rolled in from Europe, Asia, even Australia, campaigns for e-commerce giants and tech firms looking to expand. Work settled into a rhythm I controlled completely. Mornings at the condo desk, ocean breeze through open sliders, video calls with clients across time zones. Afternoons for strategy sessions or edits, evenings free. No more looking over my shoulder. Weekends belonged to the water. I'd drive to the marina, prep the yacht alone, or text Skylar if she was free. We'd cast off into the bay, engines humming steady, cutting through calm seas toward the horizon. Sunsets from the deck became routine, colors shifting from gold to pink, dolphins occasionally surfacing nearby. Conversations, light laughter, easy, no weight from the past dragging us down. Life narrowed to what mattered: meaningful projects, genuine connection, space to breathe. The drama that once loomed faded entirely, replaced by quiet routine. Family isn't always blood. It's the people who respect your choices, your boundaries, your right to build without interference. Blood ties that demand control aren't bonds, they're chains. True freedom comes from quiet success on your own terms and from releasing what poisons you. Letting go of toxic expectations opened room for real peace, the kind that settles deep and stays.